Hey there and welcome back to Rimworld. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our adventure in the Cold Bog with the Cult of Jingz. Last time we left off after an eventful fight against a large group of tribespeople, which unfortunately cost the life of Grizzly Bear Ignacio, but we also recruited ourselves a new colonist in Kevin, and we took one of the tribespeople as prisoner, so with the height of winter just around the corner, the Cult of Jingz keeps growing. And not only that, it also keeps evolving, as we have indeed collected enough ideology development points to reform the Cult of Jingz for the second time today. Now, the first thing that we'll do in just a second is to choose our third meme, and despite a somewhat popular demand, I can already say this much, it is not going to be the Raider meme. To me, the Cult of Jingz seems pretty happy in their isolation here in the Cold Bog, and actually getting to raidable locations in the Cold Bog also takes forever, especially in the winter. Simply put, I fear that it wouldn't make for particularly interesting gameplay if half of our colony is constantly on the road in a caravan, and so we are instead going with something else. Now, there were quite a few interesting suggestions in the comments of the last video, and while I have to agree that memes like nature primacy or female supremacy would fit the tone of the Cult of Jingz quite well, they also don't really add anything new that we haven't already implemented. However, there is one meme that does add a few new mechanics, and from the episode title you have probably guessed it already, I am of course talking about Blindsight. Now, first and foremost, Blindsight allows us to perform a blinding ritual, in which we quite literally remove a colonist's eyes. The reason why I think this fits so well is one, that Redini, our tree speaker, is already half-blind, and two, a lot of the ritual scars that she has given out over the last episodes have actually been on our colonist's eyes. By choosing the Blindsight meme, we also get mood and opinion bonuses for everyone who has gone through that ritual, although to get us started, we'll put that to the lowest possible level of respected, and then we'll gradually increase that as our colonists become a little bit more comfortable with this whole new idea of Blindsight. Now, of course, Blindsight offers a little bit more than just cutting out people's eyes for the fun of it. In particular, it unlocks blind psi sense. For a colony that is very likely going to rely heavily on their psycasters in the future, this could be very interesting, because with the Blindsight meme, the psychic powers of blind pawns are significantly increased. Of course, being blind also comes with a hefty amount of downsides, particularly nasty penalties to almost every single skill in the game, which is part of the reason why we won't go overboard with this right away. Instead, at least for the beginning, we will likely only pick out a few select individuals to undergo the ritual, and I do in fact already have one or two suitable candidates in mind. Now, so far so good, but that is not the only change we are making here. As promised, we are now also going to increase the scarification aspect. Up until now, everyone in the Cult of Jingz was perfectly happy with just one single ritual scar, but by increasing this precept to heavy, that is going to change. From now on, all of our cultists will require at least 3 ritual scars, and with that, the risk of further reducing the usefulness of already injured body parts of course increases. In addition to that, we are also going to introduce a brand new precept, because I think it would only be fitting that the Cult of Jingz has a bit of a problem with apostasy. By setting this to horrible, we are introducing hefty opinion penalties towards everyone who has changed their ideology, but we are also reducing the rate at which our pawns lose faith in the Cult of Jingz, which again, considering the nature of this playthrough, is only fitting. To add on to that, we are now increasing mild bigotry to moderate bigotry, so the Cult of Jingz is becoming increasingly hostile towards people of different beliefs, which again I think only fits our ongoing theme. Now, for the memes and precepts, those are all the changes we are making for the time being. So up next, let us add the role of medical specialist, which has now become available with the Blindsight meme. We will name this role the Leaf Heart, and basically what this does is give a 50% bonus to medical tent quality, operation speed and operation success chance, and everyone who receives medical care from our Leaf Heart will receive a small positive moodlet as well. Moving on then, we have our blinding ritual, and we'll name it the Peeling of Perception, and just like the scarification ritual, this one will be performed inside of our tree temple, and also just like the scarification, it won't give us any ideology development points. Up next, our buildings will remain the same, but now that we have found the Horn of Edmo, I think it is time to add another relic. And we're going with something a little bit more exotic this time, namely a Persona Plasma Sword. I think it would be quite fitting that rumors of a mysterious burning sword by the name of Red Hawk have made their way to the Cult of Jingz. Maybe the Horn of Edmo even had some engravings on it telling our cultists about it, and because it is a persona weapon, the rumors might have also included tellings of this weapon having some sort of personality, which I think makes it all the more intriguing. So this will hopefully trigger another relic hunt questline very soon, but we are not done just yet. After many people have suggested it in the comments of the last video, we will now also add some venerated animals, and of course we are going with the grizzly bear. Now this also means that we will no longer be able to hunt and slaughter grizzly bears, but at the same time it also gives our colonists a small mood bonus if a sufficient number of grizzly bears are living in the colony. Finally then, we are going a little bit more relaxed again on the masks, simply because I think it's time to play around with a few more protective pieces of headgear, but at least for now the masks won't disappear entirely. And finally then, just as a small tribute, we are adding Thoraya's old hairstyle back to the list of approved ones, as well as a couple of hairstyles from the Vanilla Factions Expanded Vikings mod that I think would fit quite well. And that's it. It took a while, but the Cult of Jingz has now reached its next iteration. To develop it once more, we will now need 14 additional points, but for now, let's see how the Cult of Jingz deals with the recent changes. Before we get to any ideology-related stuff, however, we first have to take care of our tree temple, more specifically the Devil's Strand mushrooms growing inside of it. Despite a good number of torches, temperatures inside of the temple are still dropping below 0 degrees, and that means our mushrooms are in danger of dying from the cold. 4 more torches thankfully allow us to move temperatures back into the right direction, and 3 solar pinholes on top of that should ensure that the place remains nice and cozy. And just in time, because Redini and Armando are now going to celebrate their marriage. And they are doing that right here inside of the tree temple, with the entire Cult of Jingz in attendance, even though Chutney and Specs do arrive a little bit late. Still, Armando and Redini are now husband and wife, and the mood inside of Liviana should be quite a bit higher for the next few days. To ensure that things stay that way, we can also send out a small hunting party in the late afternoon. Winter is coming after all, and we want to be prepared for that. A short while later, we also have to give out yet another name from the list of patrons in the naming rights tier and above, as Freya's Gauranland tree has produced another Claw Dryad, who will now go by the name of Scarlet after patron Scarlet Schiffer. So thank you very much for the support. Hopefully your Dryad can protect the colony adequately. In the evening then, it is time for yet another ritual, and no, we are not cutting out any ice just yet. Instead, we are giving Specs her second ritual scar. The one that she already has, on her left eye by the way, is now no longer enough, so Tree Speaker Redini and the rest of the colony are now assembling for another tree torment. The scarification ritual is also once again accompanied by the fantastic music from Eric Murray, so let's enjoy that for a moment and see how this goes. Alright, so the second scar is placed on the right arm, that thankfully does not cause any further complications, and in just a second the ritual quality should hopefully be at least satisfying as well. Alright, it was apparently not even a boring, but indeed a straight up terrible tree torment, and that does not necessarily bode well for Redini. After all, she just performed the ritual on our spirit chief, so hopefully she will perform a little bit better next time. Now, until then, we can jump ahead to the next morning, which begins with Thoraya putting her melee skills on display. As you can see, that is by far the easiest way to get rid of all of those animals that are after our berries. She does take a few scratches in the process, but nothing that our recent recruit Kevin can't fix. As you can imagine, with his medical skill of 13, Kevin is also our prime candidate for that new role of medical specialist, but until the colony gets to call him Leafheart, I think he still needs to prove himself a little bit more. And well, with Thoraya not staying in bed for long and collecting a few more injuries along the way, our resident misogynist Kevin is needed once again just a few seconds later. Now, a few moments ago I spoke about trying out some more protective headgear, and indeed we are now about to fire up our field smithy. And what we are going for here is the Guardian helmet from the Vanilla Factions Expanded Vikings mod, a helmet that covers the entire face and offers similar protection to the simple steel helmet. It also comes with an interesting mechanic in that it increases melee hit chance while decreasing shooting accuracy. Both only by 1 point, which is really not that noticeable, especially at higher skill levels, so we should be able to put some of these helmets on our more skilled shooters without too much trouble. To get us started, we will now have Armando produce 2 of them, and just as we confirm that order, we also have some cargo pods crashing down, and inside of them a lovely pile of nutrient-paced meals. Now, of course, our colonists won't like these, but they will have to eat them nonetheless, as this should give us a bit of breathing room with our regular meal production. In the late afternoon then, it is recruitment time, as Redini still has a recruitment inspiration, so her next attempt here is going to be a guaranteed success. And so, as she uses up her inspiration, colony member number 12 joins the village of Liviana, and we are introduced to Donut, named after the patron supporter of the same name. Now, in the last episode, I wanted to keep Donut's stats a surprise, and at a first glance, they might not look too intriguing. However, with the traits Nimble and Tough, Donut possesses what are arguably the 2 most useful traits for a melee character, as those traits increase both her chance to dodge melee attacks, as well as her ability to just soak up damage. Her 2 combat skills are also her 2 passion skills, with double passion unfortunately on shooting and not on melee. Still, with a bit of training, I think she should make for an excellent fighter. With no skilling capabilities, the rest of the time she will probably spend cleaning and hauling, and thankfully she also won't be slowed down doing so, at least after her numerous injuries have healed. Now, as she is not yet a believer in the Cult of Jingz, up next we are having ourselves a conversion ritual. Yes, converting people while they're prisoners is definitely the faster way, but the timer on Redini's inspiration was running out and I did not want to waste it. If it's successful, the conversion ritual here even has a chance of giving us 1 or 2 ideology development points, so let's see how this goes as our entire colony once again assembles inside of our tree temple. Alright, an effective ritual, which means we gain 1 development point. However, it looks like it wasn't enough to fully convert Donut, as she is now left with 0.03% certainty in her old ideology, but we can fix that really easily by having Redini use her convert ability. And there we are, all inhabitants of the village are now also once again members of the Cult of Jingz, and that marks the end of another successful day, as Donut can now go to bed in the tree temple next to Kevin. We'll have to build the 2 of them some proper housing soon. On the next morning then, we begin things with another small hunting party, and a few hours later another grizzly bear joins the colony, as Vladimir has once again given birth. The newest member of our small army of bears will now go by the name of Ball, after patron Ball Punyan, and if we take a look at our list of animals here, then we can see it is becoming quite long, but almost half of it are also dryads, which are fairly passive in nature. With a wild megasloth wandering in, Specs and Tuk can quickly continue the hunt in the early afternoon, and in the evening Armando has finished the first Guardian helmet, and it is of excellent quality. As such, its armor ratings have been substantially increased, while the bonuses and penalties to melee hit chance and shooting accuracy remain the same. And speaking of shooting accuracy, let's see what this penalty actually does. We are currently looking at Tuk's shooting accuracy of 99.4% with a shooting skill of 16 boosted by a shoot frenzy. However, the more important numbers, at least in my opinion, are on the right side, between distance 20 and distance 30. That is the range at which the great bow is most commonly used, and at range 20 Tuk currently has an accuracy of 88.2%. Now let's put on that helmet and see how things change. Right away we can see his overall armor rating increase a little bit, while his shooting accuracy takes a drop from 99.4 to 99.3%. His accuracy at range 20 is also decreased from 88 to 87%. All in all, I think he will be just fine even with the helmet equipped. A few moments later then, we are ready for another anima tree linking, and I think we will continue with Freya for now, because I have some very particular plans for her now that our ideology has changed a bit. Now, while Freya, Chutney and Kevin are meditating, the rest of the colony will participate in another tree torment, and we are following along with the order of our colonists, so up next we have Thoraya. Her second ritual scar goes on her leg, and as you can see, this does actually increase her pain level from little to medium, which does result in a small -2% penalty to consciousness, moving, talking and eating. On the flip side, with the Pain is Virtue meme, increased pain also results in increased mood, so I think we can very much live with this result. In the meantime, Freya also receives her next Psycaster rank, unlocking the Blinding Pulse Psycast, an area of effect ability that reduces the sight of everyone in its radius. A few seconds later then, Thoraya loses her Taming Inspiration that I simply did not really find any use for, while a satisfying Tree Torment is completed, and so everyone goes to bed just a little bit happier than after Specs' scarification. Speaking of Specs, the arrival of a nightly trait caravan calls upon her to get out of bed again, as she currently has a trait inspiration that is likely going to expire if we don't use it here. And with the trade caravan leaving early due to dangerous temperatures, Specs actually has to chase them down and only catches the trader who's being held up by the door here. All of that effort just for a few hundred silver from some herbal medicine and some old clothing, because no, I don't think that we're starting a Timberwolf army next to our bears. For now, I think the grizzlies should be enough. Now, in the background, you may have also noticed that Muffalo's Shadow Mage and Redea have come down with the plague, but for animals that isn't terribly threatening, and Dr. Kevin is quick on the scene to apply some medicine. With that, both animals should survive, and so a new day begins, as we are, by the way, officially in winter now. Next to our anima tree, Thoraya is currently constructing a second small wooden nature shrine, and you can see that we have also put down the blueprints for 2 more. Each nature shrine increases the amount of extra psi focus someone gains by meditating at the anima tree, only by 1 percentage point per shrine, but still that would allow us to increase the overall value from 28 to 32%. In the afternoon then, it is time for another hunting trip, and once again we are hunting some caribou, although that is not all the animal interaction that we have scheduled. If we look at Chutney here, we can see that his animal skill is currently at level 5. Ideally, we want to get that up to level 8 to enable him to train our grizzly bears, which in turn would also allow Coco to focus entirely on plant work and become our first plant specialist. So, to train up that skill, we will now have Chutney attempt to tame some of the wild muffalos in the area, and as you can see, with success, as it only takes him a short amount of time until he attempts to lead the first muffalo back home. However, that is sadly not quite what we have in mind for the animal, so instead Chutney will quickly slaughter it and then continue trying to tame the other 2. Over by the tree temple, we are also constructing another small wooden home for Kevin, while Donut will still need to prove herself to us, and she will get a chance to do that very soon. Before it's time for bed, Specs experiences a work frenzy, but looking at her skills right now, there isn't actually a whole lot that she does, apart from pruning and meditating. So this likely won't change much, but this next inspiration here on the following morning does. Just seconds before finishing the second Guardian helmet, Armando receives a creativity inspiration, which is immediately used to boost the helmet's quality by 2 levels, pushing it up to legendary. It is now on the level, and in some aspects even better than a recon helmet, and I think there is only one combat-oriented person in the colony who deserves such an item, and his name is Maniac. And with the helmet equipped, we are now quite literally launching our next quest, as we still have the opportunity here to take an Imperial shuttle to a small pirate outpost in exchange for a small reward. We are going with the Glitter World medicine here, that strikes me as the most useful of the 3, and then, once the shuttle has landed, we are sending 5 of our colonists inside, Donut, Took, Maniac, Chutney, and also Freya, whose pacifist nature won't exactly allow her to shoot anyone, but she might still help out with a few psycasts. The shuttle then takes off, and a few moments later lands at the enemy outpost, where we can see that this quest is going to be an easy one. All 4 pirates are equipped with melee weapons, and their base is only protected by a single turret that we should easily be able to avoid. And so, with everyone in position, we can start shooting, but this probably won't take long. And indeed, there we are, the outpost is already cleared. The last enemy here will likely escape, as chasing them down risks triggering the turret, which we can now quickly take out by destroying the solar panel and the battery. Following that, the Glitter World medicine is dropped back home in Liviana, while Freya inspects the enemy's buildings, and sadly doesn't find anything particularly interesting. Her 4 companions meanwhile take their time to hunt another mega sloth, and once that is killed we can send everyone, including the dead animal, back home. After our heroes return, it is then time for one last ritual. I think Donut has proven that she belongs, so we will now officially accept her into the Cult of Jingz with her first ritual scar. And while it doesn't go right on the eye, Redini still chooses the head. She definitely seems to have a bit of a preference here. The scarification ritual is then once again satisfying, and with that we can send everyone off to bed with a small mood bonus. At this point we have actually also surpassed the 100,000 silver mark in colony wealth, although to be able to advance to the second stage of the ideology main quest line we need 350,000, so we still have a bit of a journey ahead of us. For today though, I think we have reached a good point to make the cuts. Yes, we did not take anyone's eyes just yet, but trust me, I have plans for that, which will likely get rolling in the next episode. Until then, let us also enjoy some more fan art, this week submitted by Nolan E with a rendition of the Horn of Edmo, as well as by JK8K and the returning Chryseo, both with their own takes on the Tree Torment scarification ritual. And yes, I have also heard your feedback that it is becoming a little bit more difficult to create artwork with the village growing so quickly and new characters introduced so frequently, but after the events of the last episode I fear that this is exactly what we need to do if we want to survive out here in the Cold Bog. Still, I will try to showcase individual members of the colony a bit more frequently again, likely not all of them in one episode, but a few spotlights here and there, that should be no problem. In any case, that's it for today, so if you enjoyed today's episode, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.